Hey, everybody, we are live. Here we go. Brian Michael Cooper, former president of the Houston Roughnecks, my boss's boss, I guess, because Burton Manuel was the one I would report to. We shared, it was like 2.5 months together at the Roughnecks. And I wanted to bring you on today and just talk about everything that's going on, your career. Man, how's everything been going, first of all?
It's okay. It's tough. Like, admittedly, I'm still not getting over it. I just came out of a meeting earlier this afternoon where, they were talking about the Roughnecks and how much they loved it, and it's always a little bit, it's bittersweet, right? I think we did a lot of great things, but then hearing, you can hear it in their voices, and it always is a little tough. But all's well, on this end.
It's so funny. We had how many home games? 3 home games, 5
Yep.
total games,
Yep.
and people still come up to me like, "Man, that was so much fun. I can't believe the atmosphere, and I saw you at the Roughnecks." And I'm like, You do know I've been doing radio for like 10 years, and you guys just know me with the Roughnecks." But that's how passionate this fan base was and how impactful it was in the short time that the XFL had here in the city of Houston.
I agree. This was going to be a fans league, and they had initially had said, fans above all, and it was evident. Obviously, what we were doing. You did great stuff at the games here in Houston. Which host? How many hosts did the crowd surf? Right. I mean, you really see something like that, right? It's incredible. The Beer Snake in D.C. St. Louis. They were all. I mean, it was some really incredible things happening. And the fans it got into it really quickly, and we're really enjoying it.
Yeah, in hindsight, doing a crowd surf the week before the pandemic shut down the league probably wasn't the best move on my part or the liability of the league or the team's part, but luckily nothing happened. So we're good. You know what? Good prevailed in that one. Okay, so I start every interview with the same 5 questions. So let's get into it. Brian Michael Cooper, here we go. What is one song you wish everybody would listen to at least once in their life?
Man. Mm.
I put you on the spot
I
right
was
out the gate.
The Cross by Prince.
Say it
The
again.
Cross, the Cross by Prince. My
Oh,
favorite album is A Sign of the Times. I would listen to the entire. I would tell everybody to listen to that entire album, but The Cross.
did you watch the concert they released last month?
I did not. No, I want to. I want to check it out. But no, I
Man,
did not get to see it.
so
I
they
have not seen it.
they also released it on all streaming platforms as an album as well, and it is incredible. It's prime Prince, prime Revolution. Everybody just one night, and it was in Syracuse. No, where Syracuse or Buffalo? I forgot where it was. But man, it is incredible, and they made it HD quality, which is even better. The sound is incredible because something from '85 doesn't travel as well now because of HD and just how good the surround sound has turned into the home entertainment systems. But they redid the sound. Man, BMC, you're gonna love it. If you love Prince,
I'll
you're gonna.
definitely check it out. I was fortunate and blessed enough to see him 3 times live, and each time. Last time I saw him was at Toyota Center, gosh, about 15 years ago, and he was amazing. Yeah, he's my favorite. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that.
Here's a fun fact: Prince passed away on my birthday. So now my birthday, I wake up and I just have Prince all over my timeline, and I'm like, man, Prince, really? You couldn't do the 22nd? I'm just
21st, man.
21st. See,
I,
okay,
well, look, it's just good and bad, obviously, with your birthday, and then good remembrances, and yeah,
okay. What is one thing you always have to have in your fridge?
lemonade.
Lemonade. Which one?
Lemonade. Right now, it's Simply Lemonade.
Yeah.
So hopefully, if you're out there listening, Simply Lemonade, I'm here. I'm ready for
Let's get the
my.
sponsorship going. Let's get Simply Lemonade to sponsor you. Okay, what is one place you want to visit that you haven't yet?
South Africa, Johannesburg, Cape Town. I'd like to go. I'd like to go down there. I've not been there yet. And
Have you traveled a lot yet?
I travel a decent amount. I've been to Europe. I have not been to Asia. And I've been South America, Central America. So a decent amount, but not like I would want to. I'd like to
Yeah.
do a little bit more. I know my family probably would want to too.
Nice. Who is one person alive that you want to have coffee with?
That's easy. 44, President Barack Obama.
There you go. Streak back. So we had 3 straight guests that picked former President Obama. The streak back up and running. So there you go, BMC. You got him up and running again.
I'll tell
He
you
would be
what,
so fascinating, man.
absolutely. So, I would love to. I'd love to have coffee with him.
Okay, what is one app on your phone that you want to delete but you just can't?
Probably IMDb, man. I'm a movie nut, so I always
Really?
gotta go back to it and click it. But I feel it's like the guilty pleasure app. Like I'm like, I'll be watching the movie and I'll be like, oh, who's that person? Let me check. Every time I watch
Nice.
something on Amazon, for example, they'll actually show it. They show it
Yeah.
down in the corner as you're watching it. So it
Dude,
probably
The Amazon X-ray thing is so cool because on mine you pause it and it gives you the song, who's in it, who's in the scene. It saves you so much time instead of getting Shazam out and going to IMDb. It's the best. What was the last movie you
Stand in a
watched?
second.
What was the last movie you watched?
Last movie I watched was The Five Bloods, Spike Lee
What
movie. Real
What'd you
good.
think about it?
Oh, it was good. It started a little slow, but I thought it was good. The only thing I wish they would have done, I've seen it. I hope I'm not spoiling anything for anybody out there. I really wish they had used younger actors in the flashback scenes. I just didn't get that. It looked kind
Yeah.
of strange with seeing that I know they tried to kind of tighten them up a little bit, but I think it would have worked a little. I think it would have been hit. It would have hit a little bit harder had they shown younger. Because they were young. It was 40, 50 years earlier, so they should have shown younger folks. But it was a good movie. It was a good movie. I liked it a lot.
The message was really powerful in terms of where we are as a society right now in America. And you go, man, I mean, this was still the case back then after Vietnam, and not much has changed.
It really is incredible. My daughter did a kind of a town hall with some of her friends a couple of weeks ago. I mean, maybe about 10 days ago, and the kids were talking. And I said to my wife, I said, you could put on the caption 1988, 2008. It was, and I said, hopefully, the things that they're talking about and concerned about now we'll be able to turn the corner where we don't see this 10 years from now. And what would depress me is if those kids when they're adults are now having the same conversation 10 years from now. I'm hopeful that is we're reaching one of those turning points. But yeah, absolutely, that same conversation could have been held 50 years ago.
Yeah. Well, how has it been, as a parent, trying to explain to your kids what's happening and trying to teach them there's obvious life lessons and everything, but with specifically what's going on, something that impacts so many people in our community, impacts you personally, impacts them. How's that been teaching them about what's going on?
I think it's a difficult conversation. I think that kids, they recognize, and look, I think we've come. I will say this, certainly from 30 years ago when I was in high school to now, I think there's definitely been advancement. But you're still difficult to have that conversation with them, where you're still having to talk about certain things with them, which you really thought at my age 30 years ago, I thought I would not be having that conversation. But they're really resilient kids. They handle it well. I think that they really have a motivation to take that next step. And I've just been really enthused with seeing how they've kind of come together. Very diverse. Everybody's kind of coming together on it, and that's a little bit different than it was 25, 30 years ago. And I think that with that, hopefully, I'm very heartened by our newest generation. They seem to be very resilient kids. I mean, look, you look at this generation. My daughter so far has gone through, the Great Recession, COVID pandemic. I mean, it's really kind of amazing all the things that they've kind of gone through in their short lives. They grew up, right, on the back end of 9/11. I mean, this high school generation has seen a lot, and they seem to be very resilient.
Yeah, and it's so cool to see them actually take steps and make a change in the world as opposed to just playing the man, one man can't make a difference card, because you see it now. I mean, we see it with Texas football players.
Yep.
That's my school, and to see
Yep.
them trying to make the change, you see that Texas A&M, they're not sitting on the sidelines anymore, and
No,
they're using their platforms, which is great.
I agree. You see what, Oklahoma State. I mean, this is,
Mhm.
kids are speaking up for themselves, and as they should, and they're speaking up for themselves in a positive way. I think that, there is it always irks me when, and I won't get into names of hosts, but when people say, "Oh, stick to sports," or shut up and dribble, I think was the words that were used. That's not what, sports has never been about that historically. Sports has always been about social action and change, from Jackie Robinson to John Carlos and Tommy Smith to Muhammad Ali. I mean, athletes have always used the platform to make change. And I think that in sports, seeing these young people at their various colleges say, "Hey, look, Deshaun Watson and D Hop, saying, "Hey, look, this is not how we want to see things done, and we want to see," and I think it's great to see them utilize that platform that way. And I'm heartened that many more will do that.
It's so funny. One of the most powerful moments in sports was after 9/11, when President Bush comes out in the World Series, throws out the first pitch, and everyone is united as a nation. And you go, wait, that was politics in sports, but because it was in favor of something that you might believe in, we don't bring that up anymore as a keep politics out of sports. And it's like, man, we can't pick and choose. It's okay. We're allowed to blend everything. Obviously, the arts, movies, and TV shows will always have politics, will always have sports, because it is a mirror of life, right? And sports is going to have politics. Politics is going to have sports. It's funny, like all the congressional baseball games that they play and the pickup games that they have. It's like, well, you can bring sports into politics, but the only forbidden fruit that you can't have is politics and sports, because now Black athletes are speaking up with a huge platform. Of course, Ali did it before, but now it's next level platform. LeBron James might be one of the 3 most famous people on this planet.
Yes.
And he's using his platform.
Absolutely. And he's doing a great job of it. And I think that's what, I think that he has just been such a great, a great beacon for that, right? That he is, he's utilized as having that universal love from the fans, and he knows it. And he has a microphone that's very large that he can use to say, "Hey, look, here's what's happening," and people are going to listen. And that's what, I think that having that platform is critical. So I applaud guys to keep doing what they're doing. And I think it opens the dialogue. I think that we are seeing more dialogue now with folks who are saying, I hadn't really seen it that way, and that's been also heartening as well to see, hey, okay, at least start having the conversations. I think it always is terrible when people are just, they get entrenched on their position, and then no one talks and everybody just kind of stands there and looks at each other. I think we're starting to see a bit more dialogue now, and that's been, that's to me, I hope, is what we're going to see continue with this as well. But I think the players are doing a fantastic job of also, advancing that dialogue and accelerating it a little bit too.
So with the Roughnecks, when the XFL relaunch was first started, one of the things that rubbed me the wrong way was Vince saying that, we're going to have people stand for the national anthem, and he's very brash about that. And then, as you start meeting the team, you start meeting the people behind the actual teams themselves with the Houston Roughnecks. I'm like, okay, this is a great group of people here trying to do something special. Was that discussion ever brought up from the league offices about the national anthem stuff, or was that kind of dropped after the issue went away?
I think it kind of dropped. I think at the end of the day, look, at every fan event, generally it was probably the 3rd or 4th question asked, right? Mm-hmm. So, and at the time, and even still now, I said, look, this is, sports is one of those areas where you want to aspire for a political discussion, at least with regards to, making anybody feel uncomfortable on either side of the fence. But at the end of the day, I think that the issue kind of went away. And I've always, what I keep coming back to, and I didn't really share this as much as I would have wanted to, I think, when asked the question, but I would say, we've got to, and I think we're doing this now. I think finally in the last few weeks, people have started to separate the gesture from the message, right? The actual underlying issue, which is always the thing. Again, coming back to the question of dialogue, that's really the issue, right? Is let's why, let's ask the why, and then let's discuss the why. Not, I'm upset about, because the problem was it just got simplified all the time. Like, it was never about a disrespect of the flag. That was never the issue. So let's really have the conversation about the issue. In the last few weeks, have required people to actually have that conversation now, which I think is, and that's what you've seen. I think that's when you see Roger Goodell,
Mhm. Drew
come up.
Brees, yeah, Drew even coming out and
Yeah,
issuing the apology, whether it came from a good place or not, whatever, he did it though,
they acknowledged it, and I
and then
think
he,
that
yeah,
acknowledging the actual why is the really most important. Is the most important thing. So I always challenge somebody to say, look, let's not go back and forth on the gesture itself. Let's first discuss the rationale behind it, and then when we can get to that place, hopefully with dialogue, you can understand. Hopefully dialogue hopefully always leads to understanding. That's the hope at least. And so yeah, always a question that was asked, and I think that for the most part, again, just back to your question, it kind of faded as time went on. I think as well.
how hard was it to get over the stigma of the original league? That it was such a flash in the pan and it left such a bad taste in people's mouth, but it was so different this time around, experiencing both leagues, me being younger when the original XFL was launched.
Me
And
too.
like I was a WWE fan and I loved it. I was like, this is so cool. This is more extra wrestling programming. And now this time around it was, man, this is a legit football operation.
Well, I think that's it, it took a little time, but not a lot. I think what was done pretty quickly, and I think to Vince McMahon's credit, and again, not to get into their current the spat, but I think it's pretty objectively understood that when he hired Oliver Luck, I think the whole sports world looked up and said, okay, here we go. Okay, you've got a guy who's universally respected in sports. He's done it all from NFL Europe to being an AD at a Power Five school to NCAA. I think when Oliver came on board, I think people who might have been skeptical about whether or not it was going to be legit were like, "This is a legit guy. It's a guy who's run things, in organizations." And I think at that point, to me at least, I think that's generally, kind of the turning point. I think when they did that, he said, "Okay, you got a guy in here who's going to move the ball here," and then bringing on additional people, all the people that came on, like you said, once you kind of see the people that they brought on, these are incredibly talented individuals who at the league office were great. Had years and years of experience that were just incredible executives in their own right. They'd come from the NBA, they'd come from NFL, Major League Baseball, from the NFL, NBA, PA. I mean, it's just some great individuals who really knew their stuff. And I think that also, as that went on too, people recognized, okay, we got some great people in here, and they're going to do some good things.
So when you saw the XFL announcement, Oliver comes in and joins the league office, you were still in private law at that point, right?
I was, yep, yep.
Did you take notice, or how did that all?
Absolutely. I was like, wow. I mean, to me, it was because I mean, again, he's a known commodity. He's a name that everyone knew and everyone respected. And so I think when that came about, when that announcement was made, I feel like that was a turning point for them. At that point, okay, to me at least personally, I thought, okay, this is going to be a little bit different. This league's going to be different. You can see it now, and the time period that he and Sam Schwartzstein, put in on building they spent 2 years building the product, which was, that hopefully is a lasting legacy as well. I mean, incredible rule changes and things that they put together, I think really enhanced the game. I think you're going to see. So yeah, with those ideas, I think that's what really, to me, from an outside looking in, even before I joined the league, I thought, man, this is going to be good.
The legacy is going to last for real. Like you can already see it with something as simple as social media accounts that teams run.
The Jaguars, when the Jaguars did that, they did the schedule with the cats a couple of months ago. It was like that they absolutely took a page, I think, in my opinion, from the XFL, some of the XFL stuff, because that was, I mean, it was great, and it was it's kind of a game changer. But you would never see an NFL team announce their schedule that way before. And yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and the tone of the accounts now have changed. Like our guys Charles and Jay, all those guys were doing or Jake, they were doing such cool things, and the tone was so much fun, and it was almost like a fan running the account. And you start seeing that as a former social media manager, I look at tone of tweets and messages, and it's now rampant. Like everybody, there's before the XFL, there was probably 2 accounts in sports that had a fun tone. One of them was the Sacramento Kings. They did a pretty good job of keeping it fun and having an attitude and all that stuff. And then there was like one more MLB account, which was not even a team account. It was the Cut 4 account that MLB has. And that's like their fun social media stuff. And now BMC, everybody does it.
Yeah.
Everybody. And then the rules, I can't wait to see what will eventually be adapted.
The kickoff is going to happen. I said it months ago, even before when we were talking with the Texas High School Coaches Association. I said the kickoff rule. I believe the kickoff rule will be implemented in every level in the next 5 years. It brings the kickoff back into play. It's safer. It's just an amazing rule that they put together. Everyone that I think has seen the kickoff rule. It looks a little weird when you see the kickoff initially, but then you realize what happens and you got the action. And you don't have the high collisions. I'm confident that you will see that kickoff. You will see high school teams and college teams using the kickoff.
Yeah. So the first time you saw the kickoff, before seeing it, were you confused? Because I was still confused. I was like, what? I still don't understand.
What are they doing? They're all doing that in the 35. I had an idea about what I'd seen it kind of early on, but yeah, I think in my initial thought, I was a little confused, but I knew that I was excited to see the fact that they were only going to engage within 5 yards of one another, and that to me right out the gate was the thing I saw first, and I thought, okay, I know why they're doing this because the kickoff is it's just high collision. I could see this looks good, but it was kind of interesting to watch it from the first time, watching the first kind of shots that they were showing. But it was but right pretty quickly afterwards you could kind of get it.
The first close practice that I saw, and I was like, oh, so that's what these rules mean. Okay. And then the punt, and you're like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense. And then the best was the point after try.
Oh my God.
You got to just go ahead and put that in the NFL now. 1, 2, or 3.
When we were up in Dallas, man, we were up 21-10, I guess, and they got the point after. And all of a sudden, you had a 10-point lead, an 11-point lead. It was a 2-point lead. You're like, what just happened? That I agree. I think that one is also, and I love the fact that our fans are yelling "Go for 3," and
it June was ridiculous
on a number of occasions, which was great too. So yeah, I agree. Very exciting stuff with respect to And one thing we didn't get to see was overtime.
I know, but we knew that going in, right? Because of the point after 1, 2, or 3. The odds of overtime actually occurring were pretty low, but if it did happen, man, what we saw in the closed scrimmages, remember that? I mean, like there were fights breaking out on the field.
I mean, I think that would have just been, that would have been amazing to see that. And see that, I would have loved to have seen it and then had kind of a split screen watching people at home on television watching it.
Mm-hmm.
They would be getting, I could see them like getting closer to the television and everybody just kind of, getting excited to see what was going to happen. So yeah, that was also, I think that would have been, at least having one overtime game would have been kind of exciting.
For those, so most of the listeners, I mean, literally nobody saw this except for us because it was a closed practice or scrimmage, and it was only on closed circuit TV for Vince and his crew. So nobody, like the footage, I think only the networks have it. But what it is, the overtime rule is, it's like soccer style. You're going 1 for 1, best of 5. And during the close scrimmages, we were trying out different things. And one of the ways they framed it was both teams are on the field together, a little tunnel for the stadium host. And I'm going back and forth with a mic with opposing teams, and they're talking trash to each other. And it was us against the Wildcats. That was the scrimmage. And there was a fight, like guys were getting in their face because one guy from our team is talking crap to the Wildcats. The Wildcats hear it, and they're like, "What the hell's happening here?" And it's just fun. I loved it, man. And that would have been so cool to see with them on the field. TV camera wise, it would have been hard to pull off, but it was something that we'd never seen before, and it would have been so
intensity. And I think I agree. I like what they're doing. I thought maybe that's where you use the, you kind of have the overhead cam, and show it almost like you're watching, like you're playing Madden or something. So you see usually your typical view is from the side, but maybe for overtime you have it, heads up and you can see that. It was intense. And I really think that could have also, I think that would have been, look, I'm glad we didn't have any overtime games, but I would love to have watched an overtime game from someone else.
Man, on the field, all my field guys were like, "Hey, go get in their face and tell them to talk a little trash." I'm like, dude, I mean, it's heated. This was after a 2-hour game,
Yeah.
and they're exhausted. And everyone had to run the overtime just for camera purposes. And they're like, "Go, get some trash talk." I'm like, "Dude, they're gonna run me over. I want no part. I'm trying to make it to the first game. Okay, I want to be able to say I did one game at least, but that would have been fun, man." So you got there how long before first game? Was it a year? About a year?
Yeah, about 10 months before. So I started early May of late April, early May of 2019. So
Dude, what were
yeah,
the next 10 months like for you?
dude, it went so fast, man. It was crazy. It was just a blink, and it's like summer. And the league had this countdown clock, and so when I started, it was like 2:35 or whatever. And it's it gets real when you see it get under when it goes under 100, or then it goes under 50. But the countdown clock was very interesting. But yeah, it was just it was incredible. We started out, we didn't have an office, then we got an office, then we added folks, and it was just incredible to kind of watch that progression. But it happened super fast, and I was looking forward to having a real off season this year, right? Because a lot of the things we did this year was building stuff, like getting people in the offices, getting staffed up. It would have been great to actually finish the season, obviously, after we got our championship trophy and rings and all that. But then have a full off season to get ready for next year, where a real off season where we could kind of real plan and get that timeline. But yeah, things just it was sipping from a fire hose for 10, 11 months, man, just straight on. It was but
Man,
a lot of fun, a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
yeah, because like I dealt with Bert Emanuel, who was a great guy, man, and I'm so glad I got to work with him and just get his guidance and everything, because he was just tremendous to work with. But I would, email him or text him, and I wouldn't get a response till like 11 p.m. And he's like, "Dude, I'm sorry, I just got off of calls right now." And that was every single day. You guys were working like literally 20 hours a day trying to get this thing.
By the first game, I mean, and we had back-to-back home games. So, we had our first game and then our second game right after that. And I think a lot of people don't realize, all the kind of prep work, but then to go to have usually, you'll go on the road the following week and get a little bit of respite. We were boom, boom. And it's critical, for us, and the staff understood this, was that, all eyes were on us, right? So we have 18,000 in the game for first game one. We got to have about 18,000 in the next game, or we're going to be all over the press, the media saying, "Oh, look at the drop off in attendance." So, everybody was still, pedal to the metal. Right after right after the home opener against LA, we couldn't rest. We were like, okay, we got 6 days till, we got 7 days till St. Louis, so let's get it going. And yeah, I mean, Bert and I mean, everybody, incredible effort. I mean, Bert, Charles, and Jen, and Evan, and Jay, and all the directors and the managers were just incredible on recognizing what they had to do, and everybody just kind of rolled up their sleeves and said, "Hey, let's get after it." And yeah, it was people weren't answering emails till 11:30, 12 at night, because we were going. And it's and I think that's the that's the thing about sports. I think sometimes it gets lost. I always say this, people laugh at me because I'll say this all the time, that I always think sports is like the duck on the water, right? That you see the game and the duck's moving real, gracefully across the water. And that's really kind of the game itself, and you're a fan of the game and you kind of see it. But you don't see all the feet turning underneath the water and all the work and the hundreds of people that are working behind the scenes to make that experience great, and working really hard, and those people they're rarely seen. And, they're, and usually, I always joke that in the front office, if we have a bad day, it's, if we're not going to get any kind of accolades if everything goes right. We're only going to end up in the paper if something goes wrong, right? Like, like we don't have enough attendance, or people can't get their food, or somebody gets in a fight in the parking lot. That's when we end up getting conversations in this, and I think that it takes special people in this business that really love what they do to just say, "Hey, you know what, I'm going to work 19 hours a day and probably not going to get a lot of a lot of accolade for it." We had a fantastic staff who they worked so hard and did such a great job.
That was being on the other side and being in, like like I think it was like 5% of the meetings. Like my job was easy compared to what you guys are doing. But man, to work with Bert, to work with Jay and PR, and then Will, who came over as well, and all these great guys. And then like I talked to him like, man, so like what'd you guys do yesterday? And they're laying out their schedule. I'm like, man, this is incredible. And everyone did it with a smile. And a part of that was that startup mentality, being part of a startup before. It's just you're working towards this common goal. And sure, on the outside, it's the XFL and it's on ESPN and Barstool and all that. But when you get down to it on the local level, like this is your baby. And I think you also brought that culture to the team, that it was our baby.
I always say, treat, one of the things I told everybody, I said, look, we are family. We, look out for one another at the games. But I said, also I wanted our fans to kind of have that mentality too. One of the things I always kind of preached to everybody pregame was, look, walk around, you see trash, pick it up, show, this is our home. TDCU Stadium is our home for 3 to 4 hours. It's our house, and the fans will recognize that too. They see the care that we take. They'll care too. And I think that's what, and again, and that's what everybody, I said, look, everybody's together. We're working really hard. It's kind of fast paced. Don't lose tempers. Don't, it's not going to help anybody to be yelling at anybody, yelling back and forth. We're all going to make it. We're all going to get it together. And yeah, it is some fantastic people who recognize that. And just from top to bottom, I couldn't speak more to just, I felt like we had a great family.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was, we really did. People cared about what they were doing. They cared about each other. And, it's, again, one of those bittersweet things about what we did, which is, it was going to be exciting to see what was going to happen in the future.
So when, after our final game, the NBA shuts down, and then you start seeing stories that, okay, it looks like, most overseas sports had already shut down as well. And then we were scheduled to play New York. And I remember John Granado, who, of course, my former co-host and the voice of the Roughnecks, go Roughnecks, Roughnecks. He, up until Wednesday, he was like, yeah, the game is still on. We were booking, everything was booked and ready to go. And then we find out that, all right, this is probably going to be a bad thing to play. Let's just go ahead and end it. And of course, the NCAA tournament games in the Big East and all that, they get all canceled. So walk me through that timeline of that week after and what the hell happened, man.
I'll tell you what, Raheel, was probably the strangest 6 days in I would say my life, but maybe pretty close, because we beat Seattle in front of 20,000 fans on Saturday, right? Incredible ABC game. We're 5-0. We're getting ready to go to New York, right? This is, we're planning, you're going to go to New York. We beat New York. We're 6-0. We come back, DC. We probably clinch a playoff berth up in New York, going 6-0 at that point. I suspect we probably pretty damn close. So that's Monday and Tuesday, right? We're getting ready for that, and we're getting ready for the DC game. We'd already surpassed about 60% of where we were going to be. We were on pace to have 25,000 at the game. DC, we'd already said, hey, look, the upper deck is definitely open. We just don't know how much of it now. At this point, we're opening stuff up. And then Wednesday, rodeo canceled, right? And that's, and Bert, now, our offices were next to each other, and he came in from it, and he went back in with his staff, and they were watching. And I was watching it, and I said, I kind of thought in my head, the rodeo really, it definitely, as it pertains to Houston sports, if the rodeo keeps going, we're probably okay. Rodeo gets canceled, probably not. Rodeo was canceled. And I was like, okay, this is serious. And at that point I thought, something's going to happen. But until then, what we were hearing was that, okay, we're still going. No decision had been made Wednesday night. We get into Thursday. And I think it was Wednesday night when Gobert and, the two players from the Jazz tested positive in the NBA. Once that happened, I saw that come across the screen. I was like, everybody's shutting down, and because as soon as that happened, I knew the NBA is going to shut down. And if the NBA, I think in that scenario, no one wanted to be last, right, on shutting down.
Yeah.
But, so then everybody else was like, okay, we got to do this. And so that was Wednesday night going into Thursday. And then Thursday, I think there was still discussion about whether or not we were going to play in front of I think one of the things was not playing in front of fans, right? And so we were still scheduled to go to New York. We thought we were going to head up there, and we were figuring we were going to play the game, and it would just be, would not be in front of fans. And then late Thursday night, that night, we got the determination from the league that we were going to suspend. And it was just like that. It was just, I mean, like I said, it could not. It just seemed like we had, we were traveling at like 75 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden, it was like now we're going 5 miles an hour. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That following Friday, that next Friday, which I think was Friday the 13th, it was just kind of like we were just kind of in a fog. At that point, the league also said, "Hey, look, everybody should start work from home." So at that point, I think people, we started dispersing at that point, and it was just in a 6-day period, we had gone from, we're trying to figure out how we're going to get 25,000 people in the building 2 weeks from now to crickets. Nothing. It was
That was
tough.
tough. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, man, because, knowing Vince in terms of what we know from the outside looking in and the decisions that he's made before. And, he always says the show must go on, right? I thought that, look, the XFL is going to play without fans. The XFL is going to somehow make this work. They might not be in stadiums. We might be somewhere else. But we're going to finish this whole thing. Like, we're going to get a champion.
Yep.
It's going to be on TV, and it's going to be the only thing on TV. And that was the other thing, because as you mentioned, NBA canceled, rodeo was out. NCAA announced that they're not going to play their games. And there was a hope that, maybe the XFL is just going to own the sports market and they're just going to dominate. And I really thought that until that notice came down that, man, I think we're still going to have games. We're still going to have games because of Vince.
Yeah, I think that, it was probably a tough decision. I think really when Gobert, I think a lot of the leagues were already thinking, well, we still play in front of no fans. Right?
Yeah.
When Gobert tested positive, I think that was just it. And once the players started testing positive, I think that the leagues just couldn't do it.
What about when Seattle had a positive test as well, right? And that, nothing was made of it. It was just like, oh, look, somebody had it, and
again, I think because it came out. I want to say that it came out right. It may have come out that Wednesday, but it got overturned quick by the Gobert positive test. I think I want to say that they came out within a few hours of one another. Maybe it was like that Wednesday. But you're right. It didn't get the press.
But we did have a worker at the Seattle stadium,
and that was before our game against Seattle.
Yeah, that's where my wife was kind of worried. She's like, the players probably didn't run into that guy, but just be careful because we don't know anything about. I mean, at this point, it's still. I remember going to work, and people are calling into sports radio stations, going, "This is all fake, and we have no idea. Stop being sissies, and let's just keep going." And you're like, guys, the government is saying something like they're not just going to make this up. This seems really bad, and we got to take some precaution here. And then, of course, the bleep hits the wall, and unfortunately, like the worst thing of all of this is that people lost their lives. And
that's and it's hard. Like I had a family member pass from it. He was my uncle was from Indiana, and he was in his 80s. He was in a nursing home, and the nursing homes have been hit horribly hard on this. They unfortunately, but yeah, I mean you kind of step back and look at the larger picture, and it's like, I think we've kind of got a little bit desensitized to it, I think, over the past few months. But you think about if somebody had said to you, like, oh, by the way, during this year, we're going to lose a couple hundred thousand Americans are going to die of this disease. I think I think as we've seen it go on month by month, we've stopped thinking about that. But the impact is incredible. And yeah, I remember that week, the Seattle game too. They'd had the person test positive. They were concerned. The concerns were being raised, but U of H took some steps to make sure that things were a little bit better with respect to having hand sanitizer and things like that. And we were still trying to figure out what was happening. And it wasn't until I think another week or so when we started seeing kind of the death rate increase that we were like, oh, okay, this is very serious. And it happened so fast. That's what was just, I mean, like if you think about, I mean, March 1st was what, 90 days ago, or just over 90 days ago. And it seems like it was I don't know about you, but it seems like it was like 10 years ago at this point.
The last month feels like a year ago to
Yeah.
me. I
Yeah.
mean, everything just seems like it's going hyper fast right now, and and then from having the same routine every single day, even when I was working, it's like the same thing. So all the days blend together. You look up and you're like, oh, April just ended, May
Yeah.
just ended, and now we're more than halfway through June,
Yeah.
and we might have a second closure year. Who knows? I mean, this is going to be interesting to watch here.
Yeah.
It's been nuts. So from the moment the league was suspended for the COVID-19, all games are canceled, and then we fast forward less than a month,
Yeah.
and then we get the bomb dropped on us that
Yeah.
the XFL is done. By the way, like the
Yeah.
entire thing is done. Were you caught off guard as much as we were?
Absolutely. I thought, like we had started preparing for 2021. Our fans were, like, I cannot say enough about our fans. We had, we gave them the option of either getting their money back for the games that were missed, those two home games that we weren't going to be able to play, or rolling it over to next season for season tickets. Our fans, we led the league in that renewal rate, almost over 60%. I think it was 62% of our fans said keep it and we're ready for next year. And I think they did it partly because they were like, look, we love what we did, and they were doing it out of support, right? They were like, yes, we know it's a hard time. We want this team to succeed, and so they did it. And so it was just amazing. I mean, I get a bit emotional about it. It was really incredible because given that we're already, we're getting into those first few weeks of the pandemic, and the fans were like, yeah, we're ready for next season. So we were really excited and heartened by that. That was a great launch pad for us for renewals for 2021. We thought we were going to be ready to go for 21, and then and then to have that happen, I think it threw me off. I thought, look, I thought that we would have, most of the leagues had been either cutting back, maybe furloughing people, taking pay cuts. I anticipated that that's what would happen with us. Everybody was doing it at that point. The NBA, NHL, MLS had all done it. So we just kind of assumed it was happening for us. And so when kind of the word came down, it caught me off guard. I mean, I knew that, I knew that there were probably going to be some things happening, but I just assumed that my thought was that we'd probably put a 60 to 90 pin in things and just see what happens, right? Just to see, let's figure out, because everything was so up in the air. I mean, it's great, and I know everybody loves Monday morning quarterback, right? But I think that given the uncertainty of what was going on, it's legitimate to think we don't even know if we're going to do 2021, right? We don't, if the NFL and college football couldn't play in the fall and end up playing in the spring, well, that was obviously going to impact our 2021 season. So I get that. But I think what I would love to have seen is just kind of putting a pin in it for 60 to 90 days until June 1st or something. Say, hey, look, June 1st, we're going to reassess, figure out where we are, see where college football and pro football, where NFL is, and we'll see if that, we're going to be ready to go. Again, I would love to see that happen, but
Yeah.
I'm not, I wasn't, to quote Hamilton, I wasn't in the room where it happened. So,
Man, the one thing that pissed me off that day, I remember where I was. I was playing tennis with one of my friends, just going through my routine of, all right, let's just try to pass some time, and then my phone just started buzzing. Bzz, bzz. I mean,
yeah.
and I was like, okay, something must know what the hell's happening. I run to my phone, and it was everybody just going, man, I'm so sorry to hear. And I'm like, dude, you don't have to say sorry to me. It's not my full-time job. I felt so bad for everybody that had come over and did such a great job. I was just like, I couldn't believe it, man. My heart just sank because of everyone that we worked with.
Yeah, man, and that's the thing that I think when we're talking about the league, we always, we talk about sports, we talk about sports in general, not just XFL, but in general, NBA, we talk about it in like the abstract, a little bit in the abstract, right? It's the Houston Rockets, it's the Texans, it's the Astros. We don't think about, the Rockets have a couple hundred employees, the Texans have a couple hundred employees, the Astros, same thing. You got people who are working there behind the scenes and working really, really hard. And those things don't, they don't kind of come out. You just hear kind of this, again, abstract. Well, the XFL did this. And to your point, that's the thing that you don't really. You don't see that component at all, and it's a tough one, right? 500 people are on a conference call, and you hear it, and you're like, I can't believe this is happening, and
it was Darren Rovell's tweet, by the way. So the thing that like got me, I was like, dude, I can't believe you tweeted this. But it was he compared the XFL shutting down to the AAF.
Yeah,
remember
man.
that tweet? I was just like, are you seriously doing this right now? Because it's not even fair. It's not there. There was
not even being fair. I mean, look, we were in a global pandemic, and not taking anything away from the AAF, but the bottom line is the AAF was having trouble from game one. We were not, and that was. I just thought that was, just very unfortunate.
It was Bush League. It was that was the one time on Twitter where I just wanted to go at somebody. And I was like, you know what? Put the phone away. Who cares? And how that ticked me off so much because, again, of all the hard work of everyone's doing, it's like there's actual people, because now you're painting these people in a negative light. Because when these guys go apply and these women go apply for a job, they might remember that tweet like, oh, that was just a failed thing like the AA. And you're like, dude, come on. No, it wasn't. It's so unfair to people's resumes as well.
Absolutely. So simplistic. It was absolutely not the case. And I think that's what I implore people, like to say, look, we have a penchant. We have a penchant for wanting to just kind of soundbite it, right? It's like, it's like, I need to see what I can do in 5 words or less, right? And this just wasn't the case. I mean, there was a lot of effort, 2 years of planning, went into this league. They had all these things in place. No one can guard against a global pandemic. Certainly that, this was a once in a lifetime incident, right? So sorry, somebody outside my window here. Apologize.
It's all good.
But no one can guard against something like that. But to then have that, to have that simplicity, oh, it's just another failed spring league. Spring football can and will work. It really can. I think the XFL demonstrated that, and even that in those markets. I mean, having 40,000 people show up in St. Louis and 30,000 in Seattle, and we had 20,000. DC had 20,000, great crowds there, and I mean, it was going to be. I think you give it time as more and more people kept coming on board, right? Look, the great thing, I don't know if you heard, I love seeing the articles from folks that said, well, I didn't really like it at first, but then I went and it was so much fun. And those people were coming on board. We were getting new adopters each time, and to water it down to, well, it's just another failed experiment. I think it just doesn't do this proper service at all.
Dude, I got more ticket requests going from that Seattle game into the following week than I had ever. I mean, like, it was literally the day after because the buzz had spread. I mean, that was
going to be rocking. If we had come back from New York 6-0, we would have. I told U of H. I said, look, we're going to have, because we had been, working with them on how many people they're great partners, and we're saying, hey, look, we think we're going to have this attendance. We chat, once, maybe a week or 2 weeks out. And right after the game, I was like, yeah, we're going to have 25,000 for the next home game. You can just bank on it right now. We had 20. We're going to have that other. We were going to, I think, have everything filled on that second tier, except for that, the stuff behind on the, I guess, north side, I guess. But we were ready for that, and it was like I said, that week, that going into that week, man, going into the New York week, we were just on cloud nine. I mean, just it was just an incredible crowd that day before, and getting ready for a winnable home game, a winnable road game, and then the excitement of coming back. It was incredible, and so I think again, I agree with you. It just really. I just hate when and that's what made, I think, it so. It was such a. I don't want to say gut punch, but I feel like that when the bankruptcy filing just sort of they're able to then okay, I'm just going to put it in this bucket, and it's just so incorrect.
Not true. It's like if these naysayers were actually at the game, they would have realized that it was not just another thing. It was not just a spring league. It was different, man.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you when in that Seattle game, I was, of course, being on the sidelines, I mean, and you were there too. The noise, it was so loud at some point that my Apple Watch was giving me warnings. It was giving me, because you have those decibel warnings, and my watch was going off literally every 5 minutes, like, hey, you might want to, get away from this environment. I had never experienced that before.
I tell you, man, even in the first game, I was surprised at the noise level. I think we had maybe 18, it's a smidge under 18 for the home opener, right? And I was just amazed. Even for that first game, I was like, is it me or is it? It's loud in here. It's actually kind of hard to hear. And I think it just got better, with the next two games. Yeah, that Seattle game was just, and you did the for the H, I think I was talking to somebody, near our area on the concourse, and when they did it, you hear the whole crowd go, and you hear it, and you're like, and I think I stopped for a second and turned around, I'm like, oh my God,
Dude,
that was incredible. And so
it was intense.
it is that stadium, I do love the stadium. It was, I think it was a great place for us to be, and it the way it was built, the way it was constructed. I mean, I hadn't gone to a lot of U of H games before, and they get loud at those games too, which is great. But yeah, the noise level at our games was incredible. And I really think, even when you got in those end zones too, I mean, it was just amazing when you had teams that were driving in, or, the crowd got up and got, the end zone, both end zones were just, incredible.
They were electric the whole time, man. Electric the whole time. So what's next for you, BMC?
I'm still trying to weigh some options. I'm, potentially probably maybe heading back into practicing law again. I obviously look right now, everything's kind of on pause in the sports world. So I'm kind of hopeful and trying to keep an eye and see what folks are doing. A couple of our people so far have landed and gotten some new gigs, and really excited for them. And hopefully they're going to do some great things, and just kind of trying to keep in touch with folks. I'm not doing as good a job as I should, but I want to try to make sure we, I've told everybody, I said, look, as best I can, I want to make sure we kind of keep everybody, together and keep in touch with folks. So, we'll see. But probably heading back into law practice
for somebody that went to Cornell, Harvard, and Columbia Law School. I think you'll be fine. I think you'll be fine. I don't know. Look, I'm not sure. What did you just want to pick the hardest schools out there and let's just go for it, man?
I think my wife will enjoy you hearing that, so making sure that I'll be okay. But I enjoyed all three. Great experiences at each, but it was always good.
What was the hardest one?
I think law school is tough. I mean, first year law school, I think, is always what people think it is, which is it's intense. Everybody's taking the same courses. I would probably say that. Some of the stats courses I took at Kennedy School were tough. It's been so long, man. I feel like I've aged myself now because it's been so long. I've kind of compartmentalized it,
Dude, that's awesome, man. Well, man, I had a blast talking to you. Thank you again for everything with the Roughnecks, man. I'm glad we connected, and I'm glad I got a chance to work with you in the limited time that we had, and I learned a lot from you and from Bert, man. So thank you for taking a chance on me, and it was a blast, man. And I hope we can work together at some point again.
That's a definite, man. I mean, look, I had you were absolutely outstanding, man. Hands down, definitely.
Thank
you, man. You brought it every game. The fans just loved you, man, and you brought that vibe to the stadium, man. That was just, it was becoming really special, man. And I'm definitely, I'm a huge fan. Everything I can do for you, let me know. But we're definitely going to be working together again in the future.
Thank you, man. Thank you for the nice words. And everyone that's listening, make sure you follow Brian on Twitter at BMC Sports Law to keep up with what he's doing and what's next for him. Thank you again, man. And I'll talk to you down the road, all right?
Sounds good, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Again, we're trying to get 100 new reviews on the podcast. So hit up Apple Podcasts and review us and leave your funniest reviews there. I will talk to you guys next time. Thank you so much for listening.